Hey, be a squid and subscribe to my mediocrity. How's it going, my squids? Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a guide on how to be a mage and whatnot. This is not going to be anything extensive. I'm just going to go over what's good, what gear is good, and talk a little bit about Gun Mage, but overall, nothing too serious. So let's go ahead and get into it. So when it comes to being a mage and outward, you have a few different mage playstyles. You've got chakrams, you've got rune magic, and you've got a few other like spells that help you out with environmental situations or just situations in general. But between rune magic and chakrams, I'm going to say rune magic definitely reigns superior. It's just too good. You can heal yourself, you can create a lantern, you can do rune traps, you can shoot lightning bolts, you can give protections. It's too good. You can't really outbeat it. And even still, like, you would generally think that chakrams are kind of on an even playing field, but sadly they're not. Chakrams just overall on paper are really fucking cool, but when you put them into practice, it's like you're handicapping yourself. It's not that great. Now, you can make it viable by all means. You know, you can, as long as you can, work out the gear and your playstyle and whatnot, you can make it viable. It's just in comparison to rune magic, there is no reason for you to choose it. It doesn't make sense. So overall, if you're going to choose between the two playstyles, definitely rune magic should be your first, and if you want to work on a second character and at least give it a try, then by all means go for it, but I think you guys will be disappointed with it. Now, before we talk about rune magic and getting to all the spells, let's talk a little bit about the abilities that help you with situations. So boons and the necromancy spell, I'm going to go ahead and say are not a playstyle, they're more or less tools that help you with your other abilities. So if you're running rune mage, for example, then what you would want to do is use this ability Conjure, and then you use this in tandem with Reveal Soul, which allows you to summon a minion to help fight alongside you. The idea for Conjure is essentially to summon a minion to fight and get aggro, and then you just cast your runic abilities and just do a bunch of damage from a distance. Now, while on paper that sounds great, one of the problems with using this ability is essentially you can pull aggro from your minion, which is not really that big of a deal because, kiting around and stuff like that, just comes with the territory as being a mage. But ultimately, it doesn't really work too well because your conjured minion doesn't follow you into different areas. So for example, if I were to summon a minion right here and I were to leave the city of Levant, it would not follow me outside. It would remain inside the city. So the devs haven't updated it to where your minion will follow you. So it's kind of not great for dungeons because certain dungeons make you go to different areas. So ultimately, it can kind of fall short in certain areas, and not to mention you can only conjure a minion if there's a dead body near. So if you're fighting bandits or if you just see a dead corpse somewhere, then that's how you would conjure the minion. If there are no dead bodies and no corpses anywhere, then just essentially you cannot use the ability whatsoever and it's completely useless. And unfortunately, it only works on humanoids, so like if you were to, like kill a bug or something, like one of those like beetles outside, then you cannot conjure that up. I'm not really sure why, if it's just, I don't know. I feel like as a necromancer or a necromancy ability, you should be able to conjure just about everything and anything, so it is what it is. So with rune mage being top dog here, we're going to go ahead and go over the abilities, so let's get into it. So you've got two damaging abilities. You've got your runic trap and you've got a lightning bolt. So your runic trap is red and green, and this will put a little purple trap on the floor, which is, it does a good bit of damage. This is probably your most damaging ability next to your lightning bolt, and what you want to do is play around this. So if you're going to engage, you want to drop this first, and then you want to start firing lightning bolts. The reason you drop this first is because it has a little bit of knockback, so if you do lightning bolts, you can reduce their just kind of posture meter down to nothing, and then once they walk over this trap, it'll just basically knock them to the floor, and you can continue shooting lightning bolts, or you can just recast up another trap and keep kiting them out. Now, you can manually detonate it if you want, but I can't think of a single reason why you would ever do that other than to just get rid of it. Now, in order to do the lightning bolts, you have to do green and red, but there's a catch to it. So that's the lightning bolt, but you cannot just do that raw. You see this little orb that's floating around me? This has to be active, and in order to activate this, you do green and blue. So make sure that this is always activated. You absolutely need to have this light activated at all times. So as you guys can see, the lantern is off, so we're gonna go ahead and try and cast lightning bolt, which is green and red, and as you guys can see, nothing. It doesn't do anything. Now we'll go ahead and reactivate it, and then we'll do green and then red, and then now, oh wait, whoops, I had red activated. Hold on now. Now we'll do green, red again, and then this should fire a lightning bolt, and there you go. Now, just to kind of go over some other stuff, you have this weird summoning a sword ability, which isn't good, and I'm going to tell you why it's not good. So, it's red and purple, and this will give you a runic weapon. Now, the problem with this weapon isn't that it's bad or anything like that, you know? It's 28, like, whatever that damage is. I think it's rune damage, or I don't know what the fuck it is. What, ethereal damage? I don't know. The damage isn't the problem, right? It's fine, but the issue is that it got rid of my Jade Lich mace. So, as you guys will see, I only have 85% mana reduction. If I put back on the Jade Mace, then I'm at 95. So you can see the issue with this. There's not really ever a situation where I have ever had to use that runic blade for any given scenario. There's just legitimately no real situation to use it. It just makes no sense. And then I guess just to kind of cover it, you can even upgrade it further to making it a giant claymore, so you can turn yourself into a battle mage if you want, and if you want to like combine melee and whatnot, but this just forces you to use more mana. As you guys will notice, now I'm at 70% mana reduction. This is terrible. This is god awful. Not to mention, I can't even use rune magic anymore because I didn't buy the upgrade that allows you to not have a lexicon, so it removes my lexicon because it's a two-handed weapon. I can't even use magic anymore. Now, this weapon does last a good while, so you don't have to worry about it just disappearing mid-fight unless you're fighting for literally forever, but it's just not being able to cast abilities is not great. And the problem with going without a lexicon, if you want to buy that upgrade, is you're giving up one of the better upgrades, which is runic prefixes, which all runic spells are more powerful or have added effects. This is just too good, in my personal opinion, to pass up just so you can cast rune spells with a big sword. That kind of defeats the purpose of being a mage. If you want to use a big ass fucking sword, you should be playing a warrior, not a mage. So ultimately, using that ability is just not good. It not only does it fuck with your gear that I'm going to recommend, but it also just makes no sense. Now, moving on past that, you've got your protections and whatnot. So we're going to do blue and purple, and this will give you runic protections, which I believe just gives you like physical resistance, physical protection, and then whatever other resistances. Overall, it just makes you a little bit more tankier as a mage. It's nothing too crazy or anything like that, but this isn't really the reason why you're casting it. The reason why you're casting it is if you do purple and blue while this effect is activated, then you can heal yourself. This is super fucking good because it saves you bandages, it saves you potions, it can save your ass mid-fight, and you don't have to hotkey anything. It's just overall the reason why Rune Mage is so dominant. It has so much versatility. You've got traps, you've got projectiles, you've got sword summoning, even though it's not that great, you've got protections, and you now have a heal. So just ultimately, this is the best fucking mage that you can do. Now let's go over the gear. So we've got a few different gear options that you can fuck with. So I've got the Gold Lich mask, Gold Lich armor, and Gold Lich boots. What the fuck is that? And then we've got the Lightmender's lexicon. So this is basically your go-to armor set. This will give you 95% mana reduction, basically infinite mana. Like by the time you're done with any dungeon, you should still have like just about full mana. Now you can get the Lightmender's backpack and just be full, 100%, and it'll cost no mana whatsoever. You can cast spells infinitely with no mana cost whatsoever, but I don't really care to run the Lightmender's backpack for one reason and one reason only. I am carrying so much shit all the time, and that's just me. I'm a fucking pack rat. That's just what I am. So carrying the Lightmender's backpack, while it will give me infinite mana, I don't really care to do so. I can just drink an astral potion, I can drink like tea, I can, eat one of these, I can eat a star mushroom, I can literally eat anything and gain mana back. So mana is not an issue, especially at 95% reduction. It's not that big of a deal, so I don't really care to carry around the Lightmender's backpack. Now, aside from that, you guys might be wondering if there's anything else that you can use. Yes and no. The only other armor that I've come across is the Jade Lich armor, which is pretty good, but the problem with this armor is that it's less than the Lightmender's stuff. So like, for example, let's take a look here. So where the fuck's my stats? So you guys, as you guys can see, I am basically missing 10% more. So while this is great and cool looking in comparison to the Gold Lich stuff, it's just not good. 85% mana reduction is absolutely great and whatnot, but the problem is that the Gold Lich stuff just is way better. It's 10% more. 95% is really good. Like, you can't really, deny that. but I pretty much just carry around this armor so I can do like pretty dope ass thumbnails and whatnot. But ultimately, if you want the Jade Lich stuff, if you can get to Dark Ziggurat, you can get this armor pretty much for free. The boss fight really isn't that bad. And if you want the Lightmender's armor, it's in the Hollowed Marsh at the Spire of Light. I've got 2 videos on them. If you guys want to check that out, go ahead, and I run through the whole thing. But it's up to you. It doesn't really matter. 85% mana reduction, still pretty good. 95 is better, but play how you want and use whatever you want. Alright, now to kind of just end this video, let's talk about Gun Mage. So Gun Mage is pretty specific, so there's nothing insane about this build, but the way you play Gun Mage is you need at least a good pistol. So I have the Ornate pistol and I have the Obsidian pistol. Now you can do either or actually you can use both realistically as long as you hotkey them. So I have mine hotkeyed to X and B, so if I fire, let's say, the Obsidian pistol, I'm gonna just reload this real quick. So essentially you would fire, boom, Obsidian pistol, swap over to the Ornate pistol, and then you would basically fire again, and then you go back to your Lexicon, and then you go over here, and then you start casting a bunch of spells and whatnot. So that's how you would play Gun Mage. Now the reason you open up with Obsidian pistol is because this gives you a fiery bullet inflicting burning damage. So this is why you open up with Obsidian pistol, and then you go over to the Ornate pistol because this gives you a shit ton of just raw damage. 86 impact damage, or not impact, it's just 86 raw damage and 65 impact. Like that's fucking nuts. So you're gonna initially do a shit ton of damage right away and to open up with, and then you start casting rune spells, and then by the time you know they even get to you, if you don't already one-shot them, then they're pretty much dead. Alright, so we hopped outside really quick so I can kind of just show you guys how Gun Mage works. So we're gonna go ahead and pull out our Ornate pistol. So not Ornate, what is this, the Obsidian pistol. So we're gonna lock on, right, and then we're just gonna fire, and then we're gonna swap over to the Ornate, and then we're gonna shoot, and then we're gonna swap over to our Lexicon. Now we're gonna be casting our trap, and then boom, dead. Like that's pretty much the Gun Mage right there. There's nothing in particular about it that is super hard. You may have to like run away on certain enemies that are more tanky. I just kind of knew that guy was gonna die, so I could get away with that. But on an enemy that's a lot more tanky than that, you probably are gonna have to just kite a lot more efficiently. You may have to reload, so on and so forth. But overall, Gun Mage is really fucking good. You just do a lot of dot damage, you do just heavy damage, and just, you can get away with a lot of garbage. We're gonna run over here really quick just to see if there's a more difficult enemy that we can kill, because those like little insect bugs or whatever just don't do a lot of they're not very tanky for one, and they don't do a whole lot of damage realistically. Oh hey, this thing right here. Okay, so this can work. So we'll go ahead and shoot this. Oh, I missed. Oh well. And then we'll do this, which that'll give us a little bit of damage. Then we'll kite around. We'll do the Lexicon, and then we'll just keep kiting, and then we'll just kind of run past them. So one of the things when it comes to playing Rune Mage, if you run past them, they generally don't have an idea what to do. As you guys can see, he's kind of just all over the place. So we just need to, you know, just kind of keep running past him, and that's the idea. You don't ever want to run in circles. The reason you don't want to run in circles is because you will just waste stamina and risk being hit by some garbage. So don't really ever run in circles. Just run directly past them. That is your best bet. Oh, we got a bogey coming in. Okay, let's see here. Boom, hit him with that. We'll hit him with the Ornate pistol, and then we'll put the Lexicon, and then we're gonna run past him, and he just fucking what, bunny hopped over my ass? Jesus Christ, I don't even know. Run past him, and then we'll just go ahead and hit him walk in the trap, and then we're gonna do lightning bolts, and then bam. And there you go. That's pretty much how you do it. It's not really that complicated. Just get a good pistol. Even if you just get the regular pistol, it'll still work. It's free damage, but if you can upgrade to the Obsidian and you have a secondary pistol, or even the bone pistol at that, then it'll work perfectly fine. It's not very hard at all. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the Mage Guide. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, I'll try and answer them as best as I can. I didn't want to make this video too long, but I feel like I ended up doing that. But yeah, anyway, bye-bye.